I'm so excited to talk about mold today. I know it's a topic I talk about often on my page, and I'm so excited to tell you guys about my new mold course. If you have mold questions you want me to go over, please put them below. Like, don't wait. So, hopefully, no one on here is dealing with mold, but I can guess some of you probably are. And that was my story for a really, really long time. And that's how I built my business, and never ever did I think I was going to be like a mold expert. That was not my intention. But after I had been working with so many different clients and so many different people were going through things that were similar to me, I just decided, I was like, well, let's just figure this out for everyone. So let's talk about mold a little bit. I have So in the course that I have outlined for you guys, I'm just going to go through the table of contents because I feel like that will give you an idea of everything that you're going to see in it. Um, so it tells a little bit about me. I think you guys know some of the things about me just from following me on TikTok. And, I am Coach Leah. I have been coaching now for a lot of years, but specifically related to mold coaching, probably for the last 5 years. Um, I started showing mold symptoms from a really young age, but never correlated the two. I was told I had IBS, then I had skin issues, then I had depression, gut issues. They put me on birth control, right? Like, so many people have similar stories where they know something's going wrong with their body and they just can't figure out what it is. And doctors failed. They just failed me. It is what it is. I don't hate doctors. I have plenty of like naturopath and functional medicine doctors that I work with, that I partner with. But sometimes they don't have the time, nor do they have the desire to listen. So that's where I come in. I love listening to you guys, hearing your stories. So I have been, I would say, in mold recovery for about 3+ years now. I actively in mold recovery for about 3+ years now. I actively, but we also, it's Mercury retrograde and my power went out twice today. So we're just not bringing that energy to this live though. So going back to the course, so we have a bunch of different things in there, talks about me a little bit more in detail about my story, understanding the difference between a mold allergy, someone who is very allergic to mold, someone who has the HLA-DR genetic mutation. That is also different than someone who is just exposed to mold one time. Not the same. Difference between mold and mycotoxins. There is a difference. Decoding the MTHFR gene. If you've never heard of that before, I call it the motherfucker gene. It is a giant pain in the ass if you have it, but once you know how to take the right supplements, things to avoid in your food, you will just feel exponentially better. We talk about 12 of the mold types. We talk about, symptoms that can be induced with mold. And the thing that I tell people all the time is I could stick 100 people in a room with mold and none of their symptoms would line up. It's so very specific to the person, but also the type of mold that they're being exposed to on a regular basis. When I finally figured out what was going on with my body, what my symptoms were at that point, because what they were at that point was not what they had been throughout my entire life, but it followed a pattern. And that's what I try and tell people who, have the HLA-DR genetic mutation. They have a pattern that you can follow from a very young age. Typically, they have lots of skin problems. Typically, they have lots of gut and stomach problems. Typically, they're very light sleepers. There's so many of these things that we can essentially line up together when we know what we're looking at. Mold and food sensitivities. You guys don't know this, but I hate food sensitivity tests. And the reason being is because when you have a food sensitivity test, they are testing how you respond to all different types of foods, okay? Well, the problem or challenge with that is when you are being avidly exposed to mold and your gut has gotten to a point where you're responding to everything, your body's essentially attacking itself. So food sensitivity tests for me, when I was avidly living in mold, it just showed every food that I ate on a regular basis. So that's not going to help us long term. And that's another reason why I tell people all the time we don't want to be doing elimination diets for the rest of our life. Okay. It's not the goal. We'll talk about mold foods to avoid while you are trying to heal. Some of those foods, if I talked about it right now, yeah, it's going to be a lot of your um, yeasty bread, sugar initially when you start. These are going to be the foods that you are going to have to give up for a certain amount of time. But the goal is not to give them up forever. That is not the goal. The goal is to start to reintroduce foods into your diet, get, so much of that mold that has built up in your system out, and then be able to eat so many of the foods that you really, really love with no interaction, no reaction at all. We'll talk about testing your body for mold. So, there's a lot of people use the Great Plains urine test. It's not my favorite test. One of the reasons why is because a lot of people don't have enough glutathione in their body to actually excrete into their urine. So for instance, when I did my first urine mold test, it only showed one mold. When I then tested through blood, I tested positive for all 12 mycotoxins. So, again, the key is understanding, is your body dispelling any sort of toxins? And if it's not, like mine wasn't, then we get into, we've got to pull a different type of test to make sure we know where that starting point is. And I really love there's certain tests that will show me whether you're still being actively exposed to the mold, which again, not all the tests out there do. So we give you all of that information where you can get that testing done. You do not have to go through a physician, how much that costs, and then, what can you do? Like, what are the next steps? If you do end up testing positive, who can you work with, and how can you get support to heal? We talk about detox strategies. Everyone thinks that detox is taking a pill, drinking a tea. It is not that. Detoxing your full body is what I would call a full-time job, okay? You just every day wake up and go, how can I support my detox pathways today? Whether that's through a supplement, whether that's through dry brushing, whether that's through sweating. We talk about all the different techniques in the mold course. And I give you all of the tips and things that I do on a regular basis to help my body continue to detox. Lymphatic health, one of the things that I see so often is people don't support their lymphatic system when they are detoxing from mold. Okay. And the challenge with that is, right, is that the lymphatic system is likely already clogged if you do have mold. And so when we then start to detox profusely and we're not supporting the adrenals, we're not supporting the lymphatic system, we end up in this space of overload, which is where people can start to have adrenal issues. They can start to have mega swelling problems because their body is just unable to handle the amount of detox that they're going forth with. So lots of support there. I put all of my supplements in this course, which took me a lot longer than I thought to put all of these together for you. All the supplements, all the basically everything I use on a regular basis. I have them on guides for you guys. One of the questions I hear a lot is like, should my partner detox if my partner isn't showing any symptoms? And I answer that question. I mean, it's a big deal. Yes, I think everyone should detox. Everyone should understand. Mold is such a buzzword right now, and so many people are getting diagnosed with mold toxicity. And the biggest reason being is because a lot of us are working from home or we're working in older buildings, right? And these older buildings, like there's no air ventilation. And specifically on the East Coast, I feel for you guys so much because you're like in a mold mecca. There is so much mold in the buildings. I worked in lots and lots of bank buildings before owning my own company. It was just a constant smell of must. If there's a smell of must and humidity and all of these things happening, then you are 100% being exposed to mold. It just depends on whether or not your body has the bandwidth to actually be able to process through it. So we talk about that. We also talk about like home remediation, what to keep and what to discard. I think there's a lot of fear in the mold space, which I don't love, in that you have to get rid of everything. And if you have the HLA-DR genetic mutation, like you're going to have to get rid of all of your items, wash everything, sell your house, get it remediated. It's going to cost $30,000. And for some of us, that is the case. Some of us, yes. But for the majority of the people that I work with, it's small action steps every single day that will get you so much further in your healing journey. It's not about like throwing everything out the window, throwing the book out the window. It's not about that, you guys. It's about understanding that we're not living with nature anymore. We're living completely against it. Most of us are not going outside multiple times a day. We're not opening our windows. You know, we're sitting inside looking at screens all day, and we are getting sicker and sicker.